Hello everyone, welcome to this session on routes into teaching. My name is Matt Jones and I'm one of the careers advisor here at York St John University. So this session is great for anybody who is thinking about teaching and starting to explore the different routes into the profession. I should say at this point that as with any profession, information and processes do change, and teaching is no different. So the information that I'm giving as part of this presentation is accurate at the time of recording, which is September 2021, but may be subject to change. So do double check the information accordingly. So I just thought I'd start with introducing you to some of the different routes into teaching. I'll be talking through 8 examples today, which will be university-based PGCE or PGDE, school-centred initial teacher training, which is abbreviated to SCIT, school direct unsalaried, schools direct salaried, postgraduate teaching apprenticeship, teach first, researchers in schools, and the assessment-only route. So, like I say, these are just a cross-section of some of the routes into teaching, and hopefully they'll give you a bit of an introduction to the different routes. As I go through, I'll be talking through some key points. As I mentioned before, it's a start of a 10, it's an introduction for you to then maybe start thinking about which of the routes you are most drawn to, and then undertaking further research independently. But I'll give you a bit of guidance on where you might be able to do that research later on. So if we start with university-based PGCE or PGDE, PGCE stands for Postgraduate Certificate in Education, and PGDE is the Diploma in Education. And it might be that you find opportunities for either or both of these. These courses are usually full-time and last 1 academic year, but they do have some flexibility to be part-time, and flexible learning options are also available. Typically, you'll attend classes at a university or a college, but you'll also spend a minimum of 24 weeks on placement in at least 2 schools, so giving you that really important experience through those placements. You can undertake this route for either primary, secondary, or further adult education, and the programme usually runs from September through to July. There are some minimum requirements, obviously, but do check with the individual provider. But as a guide, an undergraduate degree or equivalent, if you're intending to teach primary, a degree in a national curriculum subject would be useful. For secondary, a degree or at least 50% of your degree in a subject that you would like to teach. You would also need GCSE in maths and English, and additionally a GCSE at least a C or equivalent in a science subject to teach primary. And you may be asked for some recent school experience as well, so it's really important to think about what experience that you might want to gain, not only for your application to support the skill development and the knowledge that you will have developed through that experience, but also deciding whether teaching is for you or not. If it's found that your undergraduate degree doesn't link closely enough to the programme, you may be offered a subject knowledge enhancement as part of your application. But don't worry too much about this, because this will be you'll be informed about this. This will be a condition of your application. The next route is school-centred initial teacher training, or SCIT. Slightly different to the first route. All of the routes that we'll talk about today have slight differences, and some big differences actually in comparison. So the SCIT programme provides training run by an alliance of schools and colleges. The majority of the training is delivered by experienced teachers in a school setting. So it's likely that you will be in a school doing a SCIT programme. The majority of your time will be spent within a school. Most SCIT programmes also offer a PGCE, with training provided by university staff. Courses typically last 1 academic year full-time, and you'll usually spend most of your time in one school with further placements in other schools in the Alliance as well. So you get quite that rich, varied, sort of diverse experience. No 2 SCIT programmes are the same, so you'll likely have some really nice, unique training and opportunities available to you. Again, like with any of the routes, there are some minimum requirements, but do check your provider. But this could be an undergraduate degree or equivalent, at least a 2-2, GCSE, at least a C or equivalent in maths and English, and if you're intending to teach primary, it's that additional GCSE in a science subject as well. The next route is Schools Direct Unsalaried. Now, it's worth mentioning that all of the programmes that I've talked about thus far are unsalaried. So that's PGCE, the SKIP programme, and Schools Direct. They're all unsalaried, and you will pay tuition fees for undertaking these programmes. The Schools Direct Unsalaried route provides school-led training run by a lead school in partnership with a university or SKIT and other schools, and mostly a 1-year full-time basis. So it's sort of a mix between obviously school-led and support from a university or SKIT programme. Many programmes also lead to a PGCE. The Schools Direct Unsalaried route is quite popular with students who hope to gain a position in their placement school following their training, because one of the reasons why Schools Direct schools do offer this opportunity is because they've got a current vacancy within their school. So potentially you could be in a good position to fill that. Schools take the lead in tailoring the training programme with the HE institution or the SKIP programme that it partners with, and as a result the training is much more sort of balanced towards the individual school's ethos. Again, if your undergraduate degree doesn't link closely, you might be offered an SKE. And as I mentioned previously, as with all of the routes, there are some minimum requirements which are listed at the bottom of this slide. So the next route is Schools Direct Salaried, so slightly different from the last one, mainly because this particular route, as the name might suggest, is salaried. You'll be paid for your time. So this is an employment-based route that is much more competitive because it's paid. Some providers that offer this type of route may recommend you having some form of work history, for example 3 years experience as a teaching assistant or in school support or a youth-focused charity, for example. That would sort of allow you to bring skills to this programme. So you're not starting from scratch is what I'm trying to say. The trainee is employed as an unqualified teacher by the school, and schools receive funding which they can use to subsidise the trainee's salary and or training. The trainees are recruited and employed directly by the schools and may continue to teach following their training. So a little bit like the previous route, it might be that you would continue working at the school. This might be worth considering if you are looking to live in a certain area of the country after your training, because it might be that you can undertake your training and continue working there afterwards as well. Again, minimum requirements that are listed at the bottom of this slide. Postgraduate teaching apprenticeship is the next route. So this is sort of similar to the Schools Direct programme. This is a work-based route which offers a postgraduate qualification, no tuition fees, and the opportunity to earn while you learn. You will work towards QTS, and you'll spend 20% of your time in off-the-job training to support you to really succeed within this role. There are a limited number of vacancies, and it's not necessarily a given that the apprenticeships are available in your local area, but well worth checking out if this is of interest to you. This is a reasonably new path into teaching, so obviously the numbers are increasing as time goes on, but well worth checking out your local area. You'll be required to undertake an endpoint assessment or an EPA in the final term, just to ensure that you're on track to pass the route. And as with the other providers and routes that we've talked about, there are some minimum requirements. Again, undergraduate degree or equivalent 2 or above, GCSE grade C in maths and English, or GCSE or equivalent in a science subject to teach primary as well. So very similar minimum requirements across the routes. The next route is Teach First. So Teach First is a charity that runs the leadership development programme, and it's a bit like a graduate scheme. In terms of the application process, you'd apply directly to Teach First through an online application form, and you may be required to attend an assessment centre as well, so much more in line with graduate scheme recruitment practices. You can choose between early years or primary or secondary school level, and the programme itself lasts 2 years, achieving your QTS, so qualified teacher status, by the end of your first year, and culminating in a postgraduate diploma in education by the end of the second year. You'd receive intensive training over the summer, and then you begin in the classroom in September. So it's quite sort of intensive route, but lots of support available from Teach First. With this programme, because they're looking to sort of incorporate really outstanding graduates and helping them qualify as teachers and putting them in sort of low-income communities, their minimum requirements are slightly different. So they're looking, at the moment anyway, looking for at least a 2-1 or above, a degree in a national curriculum subject, or at least sort of 2 A-levels at A*, A or B in 2 subjects, and at least GCSE C or equivalent in Maths and English, plus the C or equivalent in a science subject for primary. Another route is researchers in schools, which is sometimes abbreviated to RIS. And this is a salaried programme for researchers who have completed or are finishing their doctorate and are interested in becoming teachers or working in education. Trainees are placed in a non-selective state school and supported to achieve QTS in their first year and NQT status in their second year. I should mention that at the moment there's a bit of a transition from NQT, so newly qualified teacher. The term is changing, so it's going from NQT, newly qualified teacher, to ECT, early career teacher. An optional third year offers the opportunity to join the Subject Leader programme to work towards the Research in Schools Research Leader in Education Award 2. So if you are a researcher or you're close to finishing your doctorate and interested in teaching, this could be a good route to explore. And finally, we've got the assessment-only route. So this is a route for individuals that are already employed within a school. So this allows you to gain that QTS, that qualified teacher status, while employed in a school. Your teaching will be assessed by an accredited teacher training provider, and you must present a detailed portfolio of evidence of your work in the school to show that you meet all the standards for QTS. Though designed for experienced and qualified teachers, there may be opportunities for graduates entering teaching via academies and independent schools as well. So if you are working in a school, for example, it's well worth speaking to your line manager or exploring this route a little bit in more detail. So as I mentioned, these are 8 routes that we're introducing you to today. It's well worth doing your own independent research into any of these routes, any and all of these routes, if they're applicable to you. As I mentioned, hopefully this presentation will give you a bit of a starter for 10 in getting you to think about the different routes and what might be a good route for you. But do your own research. And it's worth saying at this point as well is that a lot of students and graduates ask me, Matt, what's the right route? What's the best route? And what I would say is it's not necessarily finding the best route, because they're all sort of similar in lots of ways. They all support you towards the same thing. But it might be that what's more important is finding a route that is best for you. So thinking about what you are hoping to take away from the experience. If it's to be a teacher but you are a practical learner, looking at the more practical routes could be a good starting point. If you're looking to, for example, a postgraduate diploma in education, or looking for sort of further qualifications or experience, it might be prioritising the routes that are able to offer you that as well. So really thinking about what you are hoping for from the experience, what your version of success would look like for you in sort of within teacher training, and then exploring the options that are available to you. But there are no right and wrongs, and like I say, it's about finding the route that is a best fit for you and your learning style, and it's going to really prepare you for success. So in terms of the application process at the moment, at the time of recording, we're in between processes, to be honest, which is sort of a little bit confusing, but hopefully I'll be able to outline this to you now. Most university and college-led PGCE, skip programmes and schools direct programmes throughout England and Wales, currently you'd apply through UCAS teacher training website. However, the Department for Education have recently set up a new gov.uk system called Apply for Teacher Training, and what the aim of that would be to replace the UCAS teacher training website. Just for a bit of context, at the moment, to explore the routes and the opportunities for teacher training, often you'd go onto the government website to look for opportunities, and then you would go onto the UCAS teacher training website to apply. And what the government are trying to do is create a one-stop shop for you to be able to look for opportunities and to apply for them within this new system. So it's been tested over the past year, and it's been rolled out so that all providers and courses will use the new service by October 2021, which is next month. So from the recording of this video. So it might be, if you're watching this video during the academic year 21-22, it's likely perhaps that the changeover has already started, and you'll be then prioritising the gov.uk Apply for Teacher Training service. It's recommended that if all your chosen courses are available through the new application service, you should use that, okay? Deadlines for both application services are the same, and the way that training providers process the applications will also remain the same as well. So very little change in that respect. Applications for the new salaried PGCE route in Wales, which is available for both primary and secondary schools, are made directly through the Open University. Applications for postgraduate diplomas in education in Scotland are made through the main UCAS undergraduate application system, and applications for PGCE courses in Northern Ireland are made directly to the institution. So it's really important, if you are thinking of training in the different sort of countries across the UK, it's likely that the process will be different. So with the old sort of UCAS teacher training process and the new Apply for Teacher Training from the government, it operates in two phases. The first phase is Apply 1, which opens in October for you to search for training courses that start in the following autumn. You should apply, it's worth mentioning, as soon as possible to maximise your chance of getting the training place that you want. Okay. Now, if, for example, you apply for up to 3 routes and you go through the process and you're unsuccessful for those 3 routes, it's not the end of the road. So both the UCAS teacher training program, the portal, and the government site also offer an apply to or an apply again feature, which means that you can continue and apply for applications in the second instance. So all applicants start in Apply 1, and naturally some applicants will be successful and they'll secure one within the Apply 1 stage, but there is a safety net there. If you don't get offers from your first choices, there is the opportunity to continue applying for routes in the Apply 2 stage. As I mentioned, Teach First is a little bit different because it's more aligned to sort of the graduate scheme process. So Teach First releases places in June, and then recruitment is carried out on a rolling basis, with vacancies being filled as soon as suitable candidates are found. It's therefore best to apply as early as possible. Teach First also offers some great webinars throughout the academic year as well, so well worth following them on social media or looking on their website. So that's been the introduction to routes into teaching. I hope that it's been useful and you've taken a lot from the experience. As I mentioned right at the start and throughout, this is really meant to be a starter for 10, so independent research is recommended. You might start, for example, some handy websites here on the slide. So Get Into Teaching, which is the first sort of logo there, and is aligned to the Department for Education. So if you Google Get Into Teaching, you should find their website. I mentioned before about finding route through the government site, which is sort of the screenshot of the web page there, where it says find courses by location or by training provider. So well worth checking that out. All you need to do is go onto Google and type in gov.uk postgraduate teacher training, and you'll find it as at least the first or second option. And finally as well, prospects, in terms of if you're still thinking about teaching and whether teaching could be for you, prospects have some really handy job profiles of teachers that'll give you a bit of insight into what a teacher does, their responsibilities day to day, salary, training opportunities, skills that are required, all those kinds of things that you could check out. And there's also some really great resources for writing a personal statement that you'll likely need to write for your application. And there's some guidance on prospects as well. We can also support with that. So if you would like support in any of the aspects of becoming a teacher, you can book an appointment with a careers advisor on LaunchPad Online. You can visit us in the LaunchPad space in Holgate 013, or you can send your supporting statement or queries to careers@yorksj.ac.uk. And for any guidance on funding the unpaid, unsalaried courses that you need to likely get a loan for perhaps, you can contact funding advice at yorksj.ac.uk, and they'll be really happy to help. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you soon.